5:30. We have thank you. It's 5:30. It's Monday, July 17th, 2023. We call to order the WPCA meeting, regular meeting for the city of Norwalk. And let's see, item number 1 is done. Item number 2, we have a new item on our agenda, public input. Are there any guests of the WPCA regular meeting?
There are not.
There are not, and that was Daylene?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Daylene. Okay, if somebody jumps in, I certainly don't want to prevent them from joining in. So just let us know and then we can find out what's on their mind. How's that?
Okay, will do.
Thank you. Item number 3, approval of the meeting minutes of the WPCA meeting held on June 20th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
I see Mr. Igneri. Anybody, any questions, comments, corrections, revisions? Mr. Burnett, welcome.
Good evening. Good evening.
I don't know how much you just heard. We're on number 3. We're approving meeting minutes. Any comments, questions, corrections, revisions?
Not from my end.
Okay. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Ostafine, Igneri, Smith. Okay. How about Bovee?
Mr. Chairman, I wasn't here for that meeting.
Okay, you don't have to abstain, but if you want to, you can.
Abstain.
Okay.
Abstain.
1 abstention. Mr. Meeks, 2 abstentions. Bovee and Meeks abstain, otherwise passes. Thank you. And on to item number 4, authorize transfer balances in the following amounts in the following accounts set aside fiscal year 2022 to 23 to 2023-24 for the same purpose the funds were intended for. Is there a motion to authorize the transfer of balances? Mr. Igneri again. Okay. Any comments or presentation from staff?
Yep, I'll just explain the 2 accounts real quick. So these are operating account POs. One's for Veolia. They're in the process of preparing the June invoice. So most of that money is going to go to the June invoice. And then the remaining monies is for various out of scope projects over the last year and a half that the Veolia team is preparing. It's not going to meet the financial goal for the end of July. I think it's July 20th is when they're asking for all invoices to be in. So that, and then the Snyder Group is ongoing web design. So it's been going on beyond this fiscal year. We just got another draft that we're going to be reviewing. So they're not invoicing us. They've only had a partial invoice. So because the fiscal year is coming to end, that's why we're asking for these 2 accounts to carry over to the new fiscal year.
Okay, and by memory, this is typical. This happens regularly. And in the past, we've discussed that it is legal to move things into the next fiscal year. Are there any comments or questions from any of the board members? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. Everybody in favor? Aye. Okay, Bovee, Ostafine, Igneri, Smith, Meeks, Burnett. That passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. Item number 5, contract operations reports.
Good evening, everyone. All right. So I'm gonna go over some highlights real quick from the month of June. The Veolia collections team, they're a little on the lower side. If you look at the executive summary, 0.79 miles of CCTV inspection. That's because we were way ahead on that, and our gentlemen, some of the guys were on vacation. However, we did with the second Vector truck that we have, we did complete over 16 miles of sewer cleaning. And our contract, so everyone knows, is 3 miles. So we really did a lot of catch up and did a good job last month cleaning the sewers in town. We had 32 IPP inspections. Last month, I mentioned our final settling tank or final clarifier number 1 was offline being repaired. The repairs are complete, and the final settling tank is back. It was back online and it's in service. Also, some routine maintenance, but kind of a big job. Some air leaks in the seals of our aeration system. The seals wear over time, and we hired Kovacs Construction. They replaced all the seals and buttoned up all the leaks in the aeration system. And then the next 2 bullets I'm going to save. I have a couple of pictures I want to share with you. And then last month I did mention Norwalk Marine was in the process of dredging and cleaning our grit channel in the influent area of the plant. That was completed and it was successful. The facility was in compliance with all permit requirements for the month of June, and all the reports were submitted to CTDEP and EPA. Now, if you don't mind, I'll quickly share my screen. And can everybody see that?
Yes.
So on that's a 60-inch sewer line in town, actually near the plant. It's on the intersection of Smith and Moody's. Anyone that's familiar with the area, there's a newer building. I don't know when it was built, not recent, but it's a rowing building. And when they built the building, they conveniently drove a pile through our 60-inch sewer. So this is something that we found about a year ago, and it was a big planning process because you have to bypass a 60-inch pipe. It's a big to-do. So that's a project that we've been planning for, and we executed it in the end of June, and it finished up actually last week. So I just wanted to update the board on it. So what you're looking at is a metal casing with concrete in the middle, a pile that was drove right through the pipe. And then if you look past it, we didn't know this was there. There's bricks and heavy rubble and heavy debris that we obviously don't want in the sewer. So that became an additional item of work. We actually hired the same company removing the pile to clean that. But because it went as far as we could see. Veolia does have a drone that flies sewers. So we called our drone pilot and drone in out of Holyoke, Massachusetts for the very next day after we found this. We flew it. There was over 300 feet of debris and rubble. We have worked on it day and night with Inland Waters, working several hours a day. I think they're doing 10-hour shifts. If you see here, I'm not showing you our maintenance manager's foot, but that's the size of the debris that we were pulling out. The idea was to remove the pile and then put what we call a Waco seal around the 60-inch pipe to seal it. But we couldn't really do much with the pile until we removed the debris because of standing water. They did complete the job last week, and I just want to show you the before and then the after. All the rubble is removed, the pile is removed, and they installed the seal around the pipe. Other than that, that is all I have for tonight. Does anyone have any questions?
I can't see everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was gonna,
I think Neil has a question. Or?
Ignary?
I was
who wants
going to
to go
ask,
first?
who pays for that repair and everything else, and the removal of the rubble? We do?
Yeah, yes, maybe Ralph, if you want to.
Right, so WPCA through Veolia is going to be paying for the removal of the pile and grouting and then the seal. Veolia has also, we also pay for the bypass pumps. The cleaning of the line, Veolia has taken on that responsibility as part of the large diameter pipe cleaning in the contract.
Right.
So it's a team effort.
So the contractor that drove the piling through the pipe is not responsible.
That rubble is not from the contractor to put the pile through the pipe. That's rubble from the system and heavy flows washing it. Because this is so everyone's aware, this is about Ralph, about 1,000 feet from the facility. So this is one of the main trunk lines that comes into the plant. So that rubble's probably been carried down there over the last 50, 80, 100 years.
Yeah, the pipe was installed in 1970s, and we believe the pile was put in sometime in the early 2000s. So we have the city's legal team is working with the site, the property owner and their legal team on any kind of agreement. But we know everybody agreed the work had to get done. So we did our part. And now it's up to the two parties to work out whatever in the future.
And the rubble, we didn't know about the rubble because until we bypassed the pipe, then it showed up. So that kind of became an emergency cleanup as well.
Mhm.
What? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Constantine.
Yeah, Matt, if I recall that when the settling tanks went out of service, they were both the primary and the secondary settling tanks were non-functional. So is that secondary or backup tank, has that been repaired as well, or do I have that right?
Primary tanks, if they go down, it's only for a day or two to inspect them or to fix something. We've never had one down long term. But the final settling tanks, the WPCA and Veolia has worked together in the last 2 years to do a rehab of all 4 of them. Not a full rehab, just a rehab to make them last until in the facilities plan, there is plan for a full upgrade of those. But this was more repairing rotted metal, things of that nature. And each one would be down. We actually can put it back on. We always leave it in a position where if we need it in heavy flows, we could put it on. But this one was down for about 6 weeks because we had to send out some metal to get blasted, repaired, and powder coated, and then brought back. But as soon as it's ready to go, we put it right back online. But everything is up and running. There's no tanks down longer than they need to be here. So we keep everything online and operational.
And just to add, that was the last of the 4. So all 4 final settling tanks have
Yes.
been rehabilitated. So, looking out, we should be good for about 5 years, maybe a little more.
So the center drive unit, the motor that spins all the mechanisms was put in. That was new. That had to be replaced. All of them are really pretty bad shape. And then any metal, we pumped down the tank, and any metal that needed to be done, we repaired it and just made it last.
Yeah, it's right at the water level where the steel and the water come together. That's the metal that gets powder coated and replaced. Just from corrosion and the harsh environment. So we continue to monitor it, and if we see it starting to decay, take a tank down and get a metal worker in and make the repairs as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I remember when it took place that there were 2 very large beams or something, and 2 of the tanks that had to be sourced, and
Oh, that was the gravity thickener tank. You are correct. That's where we thicken sludge. Yes, that is back up and running. That was down for about 5 weeks. 4 to 5 weeks.
and it was a secondary tank of the same type, or there's just one of those?
Maybe the sludge blend tank you're thinking of?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't have notes from that
So
meeting.
actually, item 5D, the blend tank #1 rehabilitation, Matt, if you want to talk about where we stand with that tank going back online, and getting repaired.
Yeah, so a couple months ago, I had showed some pictures of a large blend tank, with cutouts of the metal pieces and stuff. Well, while they were repairing that, they heard a loud pop. They looked up, and the roof of the tank, the weld seam all the way around the tank. This is a large tank. I think it's about 18 feet in diameter. It's separated, and the condition of the roof was so bad, you decided, the WPCA, Veolia, and we had Wright Pierce involved, decided that the roof and the Fisher Tank Company working on it really needed to be replaced. So it turned into changing panels. Now we're redoing the roof. So we did have to get a new quote. They ordered the steel. We had to have an engineering review of it. So that did slow down the project even more. But we approved it today, I believe, Ralph. A couple of weeks ago, Ralph approved the PRF, and we got the drawings about 3 o'clock this afternoon from the engineer with a couple changes, and we're moving forward. We're going to notify Fisher Tank tomorrow, and they'll order the material, and they should be here sometime in August to begin the repairs. But it will be that'll be a 6 to 8 week on-site project. It's a very large large metal panels and roof repair and all that.
Thank you.
But we have just we have a redundant one that is operational, and we only really need one to run the facility. So everything's fine.
Any other questions on contract operation reports? None. Number 6, reports.
All right, 6A, we have our monthly munis report. If there's any questions,
45.
otherwise I'll go into item 6B, discussion on WPCA engineering design projects. Item 1, water pollution control facility plan update. We have a letter including the board package. And basically in development of our facility plan update, the team conducted an analysis of viable and cost-effective measures to provide outfall 002-1 with primary treatment or its equivalent. Part of that was evaluating options for advanced elimination of outfall 002-1. So based on, we had a meeting back in June, on June 20th with the state, DEEP and EPA, and based on those conversations, the WPCA has requested an extension to October 2nd of this year so that we can continue to conduct further flow analysis and document a plan to advance elimination of outfall 002-1 in an effort to achieve the greatest water quality benefits for the Norwalk River and Long Island Sound. So that's what that letter is included in the board package is about. If anybody has any questions. All right. Item 2, catch basin disconnect program. This was a task order that we signed with Brown and Caldwell a couple months ago. And right now they're in the process of working with utilities, assessing if there's 38 critical catch basins that the team has identified to disconnect from the sanitary sewer system. So these are 38 stormwater catch basins, just clarify, that we're looking to disconnect from the sanitary sewer system. In order to do that, it's a 6-month design, but right now we're in the assessment phase, evaluating costs, assessing how do we disconnect those catch basins and reconnect them to the stormwater system. So in the next week or two, we'll be meeting with DPW engineering to discuss where we are and work with them on their future plans and continue to assess and develop a plan that's going to work. The next item, Hubbell's Lane Sanitary Relief Sewer Design, we just signed a task order. And this project is to install a relief sanitary sewer on Hubbell's Lane and Smith Street down to Moody's. And what that'll allow is the flow coming down Main Avenue to Wall Street, and then the flow coming down Newtown East Avenue to Wall Street to separate those flows and get them down to Moody's Lane in 2 separate pipes. The idea is during a major wet weather event, that line can't handle all the flow and has the potential to surcharge and have a possible SSO. So this relief sewer will eliminate SSO potential, and also there's a combined sewer overflow at Wall and Main Street that it will eliminate. So this project, the task order is to go into design, and I think it's like a 9-month design task.
Who's the consultant on that one?
It's Brown and Caldwell as well. They're our primary collection system consultant. And then item 4, Samus and Bell Island sewer shed rehabilitation. This project has been in design for some time with Brown and Caldwell. And right now, the bid documents are finalized, and we're working with with Chief Vanessa and the principal engineer, Jim Meehan, to ensure that it meets their standards. And then we'll finalize the documents and go out to bid at the end of this month of July. And that's approximately a $5 million sure-in-place pipelining project down in the Bell Island and Samus Street sewer sheds. And item 5 is our Keeler Brook Pump Station replacement project that's in design by Wright Pierce. The design is ongoing. We're continuing to work with Eversource to do phase 1 and 2s, environmental phase 1 and 2s at the existing and proposed sites. And part of the design project, we're continuing to assess the force main. So last week, we had a company come in and use smart ball technology where they physically installed a small ball into the check valve and then turned the pump on. The ball traveled about 36 minutes down the force main to assess the condition of the force main from within, and they were able to catch the devices in the downstream manhole. So we're still waiting. That work was just done last week. The team that did that smart ball technology will provide a report in the next couple of weeks to Wright Pierce, and then we'll take that information. And this is just another layer to assess the condition if the force main is good to go, or we need to do something like an air release valve or any kind of lining to the force main to prolong its useful life. Does anybody have any questions on any of the design projects?
Constantine.
Yeah, Ralph, so you mentioned 38 catch basins that are the primary targets for replacement or separation. Are there many others that are out there as well, or these are really the primary ones that will have the biggest impact?
So within the collection system master plan that was submitted last September of 2022, there was 75 during the study period that we've identified, 75 city of Norwalk stormwater catch basins tied to the sanitary sewer. Out of those 75, the team evaluated all of them and determined that 38 were the most critical to reduce inflow into the sanitary sewer. So those are the ones that we're targeting first. However, the WPCA team, Veolia team, DPW team is always looking if we can disconnect catch basins in drainage projects or just even smaller sanitary sewer improvement projects. We'll try to disconnect catch basins when possible. So these 38 are going to be part of a larger project because it's more complex. There may not be drainage in those areas. So where's that flow going to go and tie into the city's drainage? So what utilities may be impacting? So those are the things that are being assessed.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we'll go into item C, 6C, discussion on WPCA construction projects. Item 1, collection Wall Street to Knight Street relocation improvements project. Last week, National Water Main was a subcontractor to Holzner Construction, and they were able to televise the 30-inch sanitary sewer line at 2 Knight Street and Wall Street that we've recently abandoned. There's 2 reasons why they were CCTVing that line. One, to make sure that there was no other sewer lateral connections tied in. And 2, to assess the condition of that pipe. And outside the pipe is inside a tunnel that actually runs underneath Wall Street from north to south. And the team's going to be taking that video, and what the goal is to to assess the best way to abandon the pipe and the tunnel with flowable fill. So we know that there's tidal influence coming in. We're going to make sure that the team has a specific flowable fill that will displace any kind of water that might be in the pipe or in the tunnel. So that way we can fill it properly, displace the water, let it cure, and at the end of that, we'll be officially 100% abandoned. The collection Dreamy Hollow project. This is the ongoing stormwater sanitary sewer project in the Dreamy Hollow area. The contractor out there continues to install mostly storm drainage right now. And then as certain areas, they are replacing the sanitary sewer. They're driving piles for that as well. And in certain areas that the soils are not adequate to support to provide sufficient support. So that project is going until we anticipate until the end of the year. And lastly, our pump station, 5 Mile Old Trolleyway, Karen Drive, and Woodward Avenue rehabilitation project. In the last month at Woodward Avenue pump station, we were able to cure CIPP, cure in place pipeline, 3 sections of pipe from Woodward Avenue to the pump station. The pipe was, had scaled, it was aging, and by lining it will provide at least a 50-year useful life. So that work was completed. Woodward Avenue is basically completed, except for repaving of the driveway or parking area. And we had taken core samples of the concrete wall inside because of deterioration. And that's down at a lab in South Carolina being tested as we speak. And that's all I have on construction projects. Does anybody have any questions? All right. So item D, consent order, 2023 annual progress report. On June 29th, the WPCA staff filed its 2023 annual progress report with DEEP to update the agency on its progress under the consent order. The report is included in the board package. Some highlights of the report. The report highlighted that we have made substantial progress towards meeting the goals outlined in the collection system master plan. While the WPCA awaits approval of the collection system master plan by DEEP, we continue to take steps to initiate these projects where possible. Hubbell's Lane that we talked about earlier this evening, that was a project identified in the collection system master plan, and we signed a task order. Same along with the catch basin disconnect program. Some of the progress that we highlight for the agency in the report included ongoing implementation of cured in place pipeline throughout the city, signing the moving forward with the catch basin disconnect program, actively identifying and addressing new sources of I&I, the pile that we removed earlier. Once we got down to where the pile was almost completely removed, because it's in an area where there's always tidal influence, even during low tide, we did have infiltration coming in. The team grouted before we put the Waco seal in. The team grouted, put sufficient grout into that hole, into the ground supporting the pipe to stop infiltration. And then the seal, as Matt showed, there was no flow coming in. It was a clean clean repair and kept out infiltration. We're using we issued a preliminary design memo for Hubbell's Lane earlier this year. We're pursuing Dreamy Hollow infrastructure improvements, which will help reduce infiltration, and issuing a bid for the Samus Street and Bell Island pump station sewer shed, which is will be out later this month. The report also updates DEEP on the WPCA's progress on the facility plan update. As I mentioned earlier, the WPCA collaboratively and comprehensively efforts to analyze options to provide outfall 002-1 with primary treatment or its equivalent, or advancing the elimination of outfall 002. Along with the conversations with the agency, we submitted the letter for the extension and ultimately are going to continue to conduct further flow analysis and document a plan to advance elimination of outfall 002. And just one minor thing, that's just an annual report, part of the consent order that we have to submit by July 1st of each year. So if anybody has any questions. All right, move on to the next, sewer use fee appeals adjustments to date. Bills did go out, the tax bills, the sewer fee is on the tax bills. And we've had a few people ask questions about the calculation of the bill, but we don't have any appeals to date. So that number is $0. And then there are no information copies this month.
No meeting in August.
Correct. Meeting in August is canceled. So we'll see you in September.
All right. Did any members of the public show up to ask any questions or? No?
No, they did not.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody on the board have any questions on anything that's on the agenda or not on the agenda? Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess my only quite general question is, what, if any, impact did we have as a result of the recent heavy rains and storms that we encompassed over the last several weeks here in Normal?
Matt, I'll defer to you.
Yeah, we, believe it or not, we fared pretty well. We did not discharge anything out of our stormwater system. We did begin to fill the stormwater system, the tanks on site. But we got lucky. I was in Southbury the other day and it was raining so hard. I thought for sure we were going to have something here, but I looked at the radar and called down here and it wasn't raining nearly as hard. So we've been pretty lucky here in Norwalk, and the plants handled just fine. Flows would spike, but they'd come right back down within hours back to normal. We had no CSOs, no overflows in the system. We had one surcharge that the team went out last week, but nothing left the system. We took our vac truck out, we cleaned it, and that would be the only issue we really had at all. If that would be a little storm related because the flow was high, but it did not leave the system. So,
What was that, more luck, or was it because we're good in that we were prepared for this type of situation and we have an infrastructure that can absorb these types of storms? I'd rather hear that we're good than we're lucky.
I would say it's a combination, but definitely because we have been in the past few years investing a lot in the assets and trying to improve, and every day is trying to minimize all the infiltration that we get in our system. And that is one of the reasons why we're trying to respond to the consent order, is actually showing that all the investment that we have been doing, it shows what is really the impact that we are having on not discharging out of outfall number 2.
and forgive me, Mr. Pratt, I meant lucky
you.
because we didn't get 7 inches of rain. That was happened in New London. I believe our plant we run in New London got almost 7 inches, and things were a little different there. So.
It's great that we were prepared, but I stared at the radar yesterday for like 4 hours straight at least. And I could tell you, if you remember the old Asteroid game when video games first came out, the cells were coming at us and just north, south, north. I mean, there was some luck involved that we didn't get the rain. I think in Darien, we by 11 o'clock in the morning, we had less than a couple inches, and they were predicting Ida type proportions of a storm. So,
Right. Mr. Chairman, if I could add one more thing, I would like to say everything the WPCA is doing and spending in the infrastructure is making a difference. In the 3 years I've been here, you could definitely notice impacts of storms, especially the smaller ones would impact the plant more. Now they're impacting it less, in my opinion. So I do think that great progress has been made and will continue to be made.
great. Anything else? Anybody else? Nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn? It is 6:03. Mr. Igneri, all in favor? That is unanimous. I won't do roll call. Great to see you guys, and I'll see you in September. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Here.
All right.